Donald Trump saying that they had some headaches is the most superficial, insulting, stupid understanding of what these very complex injuries do to the human brain.
But also, do you believe that you should have been tougher on Iran after they had launched ballistic missiles in 2020 on U.S. forces in Iraq, leaving more than 100 U.S. soldiers injured?
So, first of all, injured. What does injured mean? Injured means you mean because they had a headache.
For those of you who may not know, Dwight had given President Trump his Purple Heart.
That's right. That's right.
I couldn't think anybody more deserving of a Purple Heart.
Thank you very much.
Dan Barkhuff, great to have you on the Ken Harbaugh Show. You're a former Navy SEAL, an ER doc, the founder and president of Vets for Responsible Leadership, and an audience favorite here on the Midas Touch Network. Where to begin? Donald Trump just awarded himself a Purple Heart. He mocked TBI victims, calling brain injury, I guess, comparing it to mild headaches. I guess you got a couple of ways you can comment on this as a physician and as a Navy SEAL. How do you react?
Yeah, it's more the same with this guy, right, Ken? So the putting on my doctor hat for a moment, which is, what I've been doing for the last really 10, 12 years anyway, the TBI is a complex injury. And
what does TBI stand for?
Sorry, traumatic brain injury. Okay. And it's really a spectrum of ways in which your brain can get injured. I mean, everything from a mild concussion, if you bump your head and you have a headache afterwards, by definition, you have a clinical concussion. That ranges to, more dramatic kind of true, like bleeding within your brain, bleeding in between your brain and your skull, all sorts of various things. It's this wide spectrum. It really was kind of the definitive injury for American service members and allied service members in Iraq and Afghanistan. Kind of the 1-2 punch for a lot of folks was TBI with, some sort of post-traumatic stress as well. And this is an injury that, unfortunately, if you break your arm, right, your body's going to heal it. Your body's not going to heal your brain. There's a little bit of neuroplasticity in like really young patients, kids, but once you're an adult, I mean, if you get a severe traumatic brain injury like that's going to stay with you forever. And it's affected thousands of veterans from the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So, Donald Trump saying that they had some headaches is the most superficial, insulting, stupid understanding of what these very complex injuries do to the human brain. They affect people for months, for years, for decades, for the rest of their life. People are forgetting things. People have early dementia. People have early onset Alzheimer's. That's what we're seeing now because of these brain injuries 10, 15 years ago. And Donald Trump, again, the guy's all, he's all hat and no cattle, right? Like he wants to get a little, he thinks it's cool to get a little Purple Heart. And, he doesn't understand that these are injuries that affected people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked it up on the VA website, 185,000 diagnoses of TBI from veterans getting healthcare at the VA. You've been very much out in front on this idea that Trump is going to suffer badly with veterans, perhaps even lose the veteran vote in November because of just how disparaging he is of veterans and their experience. And this is one more example of how much he disdains our service.
Yep. And it's drip, drip, drip. There's no cohort of voters that have dropped in their support for MAGA and support for Donald Trump as much as veterans and people serving in the military. And, for some people, it's John McCain. For some people, it's Charlottesville. For some people, it's January 6th. For some, it's top secret documents. For some, it's insulting Gold Star families. For some, it's blaming his COVID outbreak on Gold Star families. For some, it's going to Arlington and having a campaign op. For some, it's making fun of, it's minimizing these folks who have serious life-altering head injuries in the service of our country. And so, MAGA likes to say, oh, no, we're not losing veterans and we're not losing the military. It's like, yeah, you are, buddy. You guys are, because veterans are not stupid and we're not a monolith. We're not just out here reflexively voting Republican. We are thinking consumers of the political product out there. And MAGA's just been making mistake after mistake after mistake. I mean, we haven't even started talking about Project 2025, which cuts disability at the VA and is limiting it's potentially going to limit the number of conditions which qualify for disability, right? So, for everyone, it's one thing or another, but it's drip, drip, drip. And every time Donald Trump opens his mouth about veterans or the military, he's losing support.
It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break here to remind everyone, if you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast version of this show, please do. The link is below. And don't forget to rate and review. It makes a huge difference in how the algorithm ranks shows. Thanks for the support. I'm glad you brought up Project 2025, because Vets for Responsible Leadership has made the case that, look, if you're a veteran and still cannot bring yourself to vote on character and judge Donald Trump by his actions, then vote on policy. Vote on what Project 2025 and this Republican plan for America is going to do to you and your family. And it really is a dark vision for America, not just for those on the margins, which are going to suffer the most, but for vets, for the VA, for government institutions that have upheld our safety nets, our system of government for generations.
Absolutely. I mean, the VA is, as an institution, has been around for, at this point, over 100 years. And because of the way healthcare developed in America, right? We've never had single payer like they do in many other countries. In World War II, we started having employee-based health insurance plans, or really kind of to get around wage controls and price controls. But the VA has always been sort of its own thing. We've always recognized that if you are hurt, injured, in the line of duty for your country, wearing the uniform of your country, you should be entitled to health care for those conditions. And Project 2025, in its enthusiasm to just strip entitlements, right? Entitlements, I'm using air quotes. It is looking to cut down the number of conditions that can be covered for medical disability related to service, and it's looking to kick people off of the roles of folks who are getting disability from the federal government for injuries and conditions associated with their military service. That's a fact. That's in their plan. They are coming to cut your paycheck, your disability payment that you earned because you were in Iraq, all these guys, these big MAGA personalities, right? Cernovich, Cat Turd, Donald Trump Jr., all these people, these able-bodied men who sat it out, they think there's nothing wrong with you, and they want to take away your money because it's offensive to them that you're getting payments for being blown up in Afghanistan.
I want to roll for the outro to this show, the VFRL ad that just came out as part of the Not a Sucker campaign. Can you explain this push in key swing states, who VFRL is trying to reach, and why it's such a resonant message for vets today?
Absolutely. So Donald Trump, who famously, in front of John Kelly, who took Donald Trump to his son's grave, John Kelly, MAGA extraordinaire, right? This guy is so MAGA that, he was a part of Trump's cabinet, right? He was literally his chief of staff. And takes Trump to Arlington Cemetery to John Kelly's son's grave. And Donald Trump says, I don't understand what was in it for them, right? Like, why would he do this, right? Who called dead Marines losers and suckers. Why do I want to go to that military cemetery in France? It's filled with losers. We're calling attention to that. So we've got an initiative. We have people making videos. I encourage you, if you're listening, make a video, send it to us, put it on social media. 30 seconds, a minute, 20 seconds. Hey, I'm Dan Barkhuff. I served. I'm not a loser. I'm not a sucker. My friends who died are not losers, right? And we're putting it out there. We are trusted messengers to the American public. Veterans are trusted. Veterans are trusted because at one point in their life, they went and they did something selfless and they joined a team and they had real risk and a real opportunity cost, that the Trump boys sure did miss out on, right? These guys, we were 25, we were 30 years old, we were 18 years old walking foot patrols in Al Anbar province while the Trump boys were, doing whatever it was they were doing, living the high life in Atlantic City. So this is an effort to call attention to the fact that Donald Trump is uniquely disrespectful, uniquely insulting to us, and continues to do it. He's not learned his lesson, Ken. He is never going to learn his lesson. He does not care about you as a veteran, and he does not care about the military unless he's allowed to sick it on protesters in American cities.
My favorite line from this video, which was purely organic, not scripted at all, I don't think any of us thought of it, was the vet who said, "Don't be the sucker Trump thinks you are by voting for him." Here's the video.
Absolutely.
I served in the U.S. Navy.
The United States Army.
Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy.
Flew F-18s for 12 and a half years.
Former captain of a nuclear submarine.
Donald Trump has called veterans losers and suckers.
I'm not a sucker.
I'm not a sucker.
I'm not a sucker.
And my friends who died were not losers.
I'm not voting for Trump.
Because Donald Trump is unfit.
Unfit for office.
Unfit to be commander-in-chief.
America is better than Donald Trump.
Don't be the sucker that Trump thinks you are by voting for him.